Alright, so it looks like the new Marvel movie just dropped and we got a lot to talk about, so let's get into it. Now, as usual, I won't be covering anything that you can't get from reading about it or from the trailers, so you don't have to worry about any spoilers. So for those of you that aren't aware, this is the third and the final installment of the Guardians of the Galaxy. The movie's about a group of heroes who fought alongside of the Avengers to protect the galaxy from intergalactic threats when the group is challenged by the villain, whose name is High Evolutionary. High Evolutionary is on a quest to create the perfect society, no matter the destruction that it brings. If you've seen the other Marvel movies, this film picks up after Endgame, where the Gamora that they knew is gone, and features a Gamora who's come back to life with no memory of her relationship with Peter Quill. With Peter still reeling from the loss of Gamora, we find that the Guardians look different these days, but must rally to defend the universe along with protecting one of their own. So with that out of the way, first I'm going to give my thoughts on the film personally, and then from a Christian perspective. So when it comes to the actual film itself, I was actually very pleasantly surprised with how good it was, especially with how, let's just say how inconsistent Marvel has been in its latest phase.
Darren is dead! There is only Monarch!
It feels like ever since Avengers Endgame happened, Marvel has really struggled to find its footing, but this really showed a return to form in my personal opinion. But the writing and the visual effects in this movie were done really well. I think that the visuals really helped to take the story forward in a way that wouldn't be possible to do without them. I thought the film captured a really good tone that struck a balance between its humorous and its serious moments, which is great because in recent years, I think that Marvel has been a little oversaturated with all of the quips and the one-liners, and while I'm a fan of this humor, after a while it starts to feel a little forced. This movie, however, had a great amount of emotional depth that still had lighthearted moments, but also allowed time for the film to breathe and really let the more somber parts of the film sink in when needed, especially when it comes to Rocket's story, which to me was the highlight of the story. After almost 10 years shrouded in mystery, we finally got to learn of Rocket Raccoon's tragic backstory, and I think they really nailed it on this one. I personally think that it really served as the heart and soul of this movie, and apart from Bradley Cooper's vocal performance, the visual effects really allowed the emotion from his performance to really shine. I actually never thought I'd find myself feeling so sad for an animated raccoon.
Don't call me a raccoon!
I'm sorry. I took it too far. I meant trash panda.
Is that better?
It's worse. It's so much worse.
But they definitely managed to pull it off. And also, in case you're wondering, the action in this movie was great, if that's something that you're a fan of. And now to what I disliked. With so many positive things about the movie, the only negative thing that I really have to say about the film is that it really does test the limits of PG-13. So you should probably exercise some caution before letting younger viewers and family go to see it. While there's not very much sexual innuendo, it does have a lot of violence and imagery that might not be suitable for children. Even for a Marvel movie, James Gunn added a lot more carnage with the depiction of animal cruelty, some gruesome injuries and deaths, planetary destruction, and more.
And we'll kill anyone who gets in our way.
No, not kill anyone.
Kill a few people.
Kill no people.
Kill one guy, one stupid guy who no one loves.
Now you're just making it sad.
This was definitely a more violent movie than usual, so definitely keep that in mind if you're choosing to see this movie with your family. Alright, so now that I've given my personal thoughts on the film's production, let's go ahead and talk about the film from a Christian perspective. So as I noted before, there was a lot covered in this film, especially thematically. From accepting the loss of relationships to loyalty and sacrifice and not giving up, there's a lot here. But the thing that I found most striking was the villain, otherwise known as the High Evolutionary. Throughout the film, we see him solely focused on a desire to create a perfect utopian society full of his own creatures that he desires to be perfect. We see his obsession continuing to grow all the way until we get to the point of him yelling, "There is no God," and that he needs to step in to usher in a new era of perfection. Now, while I'm glad that the movie did such a good job in showing just how bad of an idea it is to play God, something deeper also resonated with me as I watched it. It was the fact that, as Rocket even pointed out in the movie, the root of this man's obsession wasn't so much a pursuit of perfection for perfection's sake, but instead from a hatred of imperfection. This movie does a great job in showing just how disposable and worthless the High Evolutionary considered people that were imperfect. And as I watched the movie, it made me think of just how easy it is for someone even like me to dismiss those that don't meet my subconscious standards of perfection that I might have for them. I think that we all face the temptation to sometimes not treat people that well simply because they're not living perfectly or the way that we want them to. But the reality is, of course, none of us are perfect. In the history of the world, there's only been one who's truly perfect, and that was God in human flesh, Jesus of Nazareth. And unlike the high evolutionary, even in God's perfection, God still loves us in our imperfection, so much that he took on human flesh, lived the perfect life that we couldn't, and died in our place for our sins and our imperfections. The ultimate sacrifice, the perfect for the imperfect, which none of us deserve. As Paul says, very rarely will anyone die for a righteous person. Though for a good person, someone might dare to die. But God demonstrates his own love for us in this. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Now, unlike the villain in this movie, God values us even in the midst of our imperfections to the point of the bloodshed on the cross. And when I really take the time to reflect on the fact that the perfect God of the universe loved me in my own imperfection, it makes it a lot harder for me to be unloving toward others who fall short of whatever standards that I have for them. The fact is, you can forgive much once you understand how much you've been forgiven. So if you choose to go watch this movie, I hope that you'll spend some time reflecting on how the perfect lovingly sacrificed for us, the imperfect. So overall, I think that this movie was a return to form for the Marvel Cinematic Universe after a rocky stage 4, and I think that it was a perfect finale for the Guardians franchise. So if you've seen it, what did you think? Go ahead and let me know down below in the comments, but the next time that we forget to show grace to others that are imperfect, what are you gonna say? What do you mean?